Hey guys, Joel's here with another reasoning session. Today I'm coming at you with a section from the book of Ecclesiastes. Like a lot of people, when they read this book, they think, it's a bit existentialist, quite pessimistic in its tone, but actually, they're just taking verses out of context. When you read this whole thing in its entirety, it's actually a manifesting treatise. It actually explains the whole process of what life is about, why it seems to suck when we apply logic to it. And when we actually step back and look at it from the higher dimensions or the causal realm, everything fits into place.
Come now and let us reason together. Come now, we can talk it over.
But I don't really have time to get into the whole nature of the book. That's a lot to cover as it is. So I'm just going to cover a couple verses from just the beginning of chapter 11, actually, talking about manifesting, how we can manifest, and how these symbols can be applied in our own lives as we implement a better world for ourselves and a better experience for our own life. So verse 1 of chapter 11 reads, "Cast your bread upon the waters, for you shall find it after many days." Now, of course, we can take this literally as in feeding the ducks, but really, what good is soggy bread coming back to you? What this is really talking about is manifesting, the process of manifesting, which when we talk about, we're talking about sowing seeds into the etheric realms, the causal realms, whereby those seeds will materialize into our experiential reality. What are those causal realms? Those are the waters of the ethers, the ocean of existence, the infinite source field of quantum possibilities. When we sow our bread into that body of water, and what is bread? It's dough. It's that which you need, that which you're forming and working and manipulating into a substance, into a new substance, right? You're taking grains and you're grinding them into flour and you mix them with water and some salt and oil, and then you make a nice dough. That is what manifesting a scene of reality is. We take an intention and we harness it, we hone it and we cultivate it, and we bring it to life within us, within that infinite ocean of awareness. Those are the waters on which we sow the bread which we're making, we're cultivating, we're creating. And as that vision develops within us, it won't return to us void. It will return to us. Even though it might not look like the waters are bringing anything to us in this moment right away, it is planted. That seed is out there and the harvest is inevitable. So continuing on, verse 2 now, it says, "Give a portion to 7 and also to 8, for you know not what evil shall be upon the earth." Now, of course, we all know, at least those of us with esoteric knowledge, that 7 refers to the 7 heavens, the 7 centers, the 7 spheres of man. And those 7 spheres represent all levels of manifested reality. If you go through the spheres of the planets, they each represent a domain or an aspect of human life. So you have the moon, which represents the motherly. Then you have Mercury, which represents communication and business. And then you have Venus, which represents love and home. And so all of these different facets of human experience are manifested in this 7-fold nature of reality. When we give a portion of our manifestation to each of these 7 domains, we know that there's a harvest in each of these 7 domains for us. So we put forth a visualization intending our ideal home life. We put forth a visualization intending our ideal business life and relationships, and so on and so forth down the line, right? We put forth all these different visualizations, all these different intentions covering different aspects or facets of society, so that when something does happen, even if something might not manifest right away in one of the other realms, at least we have backup that's coming in terms of a harvest in the other 6 domains. Moving on to verse 3, we read some more. "If the clouds be full of rain, they empty themselves upon the earth." Now, clouds again are referring to the waters. And when the clouds are full, that means the ethers are full with condensation and they're ready to release. the manifested reality into physicality. That's what the heavy clouds represent. And if a tree falls towards the south or towards the north, in the place where the tree falls, there it shall be. Now that refers to manifested reality. Before the tree falls, we can direct which way we want to fell it. But once it falls, it's fallen, and moving it from that place requires a lot more effort. So this is actually telling you that once a scene is manifested, it's a lot more difficult to change that manifested scene than it is to change a scene before it manifests. Set your intention before the actualization of that intention concretizes into physicality, because once it does, changing the physical experience, changing the circumstances, that is like 10 times more difficult. And actually, that might even be putting it lightly. Sometimes it's a lot more difficult, exponentially difficult, than it is before you manifest a scene. So just be careful when you're intending these things, because you don't want to backtrack. You don't want to do this sloppily and then realize you set forth some intentions that weren't quite exactly where you wanted to be. And continuing on, I'm probably just going to finish at this verse because there's a lot and I can keep going. So, he that observes the wind shall not sow, and he that regards the clouds shall not reap. Again, we're talking about this metaphorical meaning of the weather. What is the weather? It's the trends. It's the way things are going, how reality is moving, the momentum behind the manifested reality. So if you're observing the wind, if you're observing what might be coming, if you're observing, it looks like something's right around the corner, you're not even going to want to plant because you're going to be anticipating manifested realities that are already in the pipelines. You're not going to even bother trying to create your own, right? You're going to see the grass and you're going to be like, hey, there's already plants growing in our backyard. We don't need to plant a garden. But yet those plants that you're planting are different. And he that regards the clouds shall not reap. So when you're watching, you're expecting the rain. You're expecting, some kind of delivery from the ether of a manifested reality. But you're not actually going to reap any of the crops that you've planted on your own. You're not going to reap the harvest that you actually have entitled to you. So that's just a bit of insight I had just into a couple of verses here. Like I haven't even scratched the surface, guys. There's just so much that I just want to get into. There's not enough time for me to record and edit these videos on top of what I'm also doing on the side. But I really want to focus on these videos. I don't know how I'm going to implement these, maybe tie these into the Joel Fernandez show, make something really interesting and really take this off, because this kind of information, like, you're not going to get this from religious institutions. You're not going to get this from the controllers or the manipulators. Like I said, the institutions don't want you to know this, but this is the gold mine that they are sitting on. They don't want any of us to really realize it. But I'm speaking up. We're speaking up, and we're reclaiming this world for source, for actual life, light, and absolute goodness. And that, my friends, has no monopoly on exclusivity. Source, the very fact that we're all alive means that we all are plugged into this divine conduit. There is no monopoly on the divine. So stay optimistic and do your part, bringing to life the world that you know you deserve. Just do whatever talents are yours. Start there. And we're going to ignite a fire that cannot be quenched. I love you guys from the bottom of my heart. I'll check you in the next reasoning video. Joel signing out once again. And we got a shout out from this guy here too. Agape, Salaam, Namaste. Shalom.